everyone. So today I'm going to be taking you through some of my favorite places to adjust with myofascial release. And you're just going to need one myofascial release ball or a tennis ball or a racquetball or whatever you happen to have handy. I'm going to be using this green rad round. You're welcome to kind of switch it up along the way if you happen to have multiple sizes of these rad balls. Definitely won't be using the black one today. You might switch it out for the blue one or even the little bit larger and softer recovery round. But let's go ahead and begin. We're going to start today working on the pecs. So in just a minute I'm going to be laying flat on my belly in a sphinx pose to begin. And I'm going to be looking to place the ball about an inch below the clavicle and an inch inside of the armpit. So right about there. And you're going to be needing a block for this one as well. So have a block handy or something that you can prop the ball up on. So let's go ahead and begin, laying flat on our bellies. And for this one, I like to take my yoga block at the flattest level and kind of angle it off to the side just a little bit. So once I get there, I'm going to place my myofascial release ball right on the corner of the block. And if this is too much, if it's a little bit too tender, you're welcome to use a blanket as well and kind of cover the ball, and it'll make it a little bit softer. So from here, I'm going to look for that spot that I pointed out, about an inch below the clavicle and an inch inside of the armpit. And then I'm just going to bring my arms out to kind of a goalpost shape. Let my head relax maybe on my hand. You might have a second block nearby, and you're welcome to use that as well. And you're just going to start to get comfortable here. We're going to take about 10 breaths just relaxing into this. And just letting the arm get heavy. You really want to allow the weight of gravity to assist you in this myofascial release. So we don't need to press ourselves down. We're just letting gravity do the job for us. Feeling the belly breathing into the floor. Just starting to allow these tissues to adapt to the shape of the ball. And taking just one more breath. And then either staying here, if this is already intense enough for you, you can stay right where you're at. Or if you'd like to, you could lift the hand and hover it above the floor and slowly start to stretch the arm forward. And then bring the elbow back in space. Good. Just creating more movement there in the tissue as we compress using the ball. Just a few more times there. And then let the arm relax again down on the floor. We'll take just a few more breaths. Last breath here. And then lift the head, set the ball to the side, slide the block off to the side as well. And we're going to move into the space we just created just a little bit. So bringing the arms out to that goalpost shape again, turn onto your right cheek. Let's walk the legs together. And just relaxing your right shoulder down, bend into your left knee, And then slide your left fingertips underneath your left shoulder. All we're going to do here is roll now over onto our right side, getting a little stretch in those pecs. Just taking a few breaths here. Maybe wrapping that left arm behind your back if you have the space. And then slowly release, rolling back onto your belly. And just take a moment here to notice. Notice the change from side to side. Notice how your right shoulder feels a little bit closer to the floor than your left. Maybe noticing the right side of the neck feels a little more relaxed. And then let's even out those sides now. So coming back to that Sphinx pose just to get into position, grabbing your yoga block and setting the ball right at the edge there. And again, looking for that place about an inch below the clavicle. Good. And then just finding that goalpost position with the arms and maybe relaxing the forehead all the way down on the floor. Maybe bringing the right hand underneath the forehead. And let's just start to relax into it. And letting the weight of gravity do the job for us. Remembering with this one we're taking about 10 breaths. And with each exhale, allowing the body to sink a little bit heavier. Get a little bit more relaxed. Seeing if we can regulate the breath. And just let it be really slow and steady. Just a few more breaths here. And again, if you're fine right where you are, just go ahead and stay and continue to breathe. If you'd like a little bit more intensity, lift your left hand up off the floor and slowly begin to straighten that left arm forward. And then bend back into the elbow. Good, so just a little bit of movement here. Taking just one more repetition. And then letting the arm completely relax for a few more breaths. Last breath here. And then lift the head, release the ball and the block. And again, we're going to lie flat on our bellies with our arms at that goalpost shape. And this time bringing the right fingertips under the right shoulder. Walk the feet together, walk the legs together, and put a bend in just your right knee. We're going to roll over onto our left side. And just stretching into the pecs. And feel free to keep those right fingertips down on the floor to support yourself here, or you can wrap your right arm behind your back if that's accessible. And just a few breaths. And then slowly unwind, laying flat down on your belly again, and just take a moment to notice. Observe now that that left shoulder feels a little bit looser. The left side of the chest and the right side of the chest a little more equal. Good, and then let's place the hands underneath the shoulders and just press your way up to a table pose. We're going to move on now to the quadriceps. So in just a moment, we're going to be lying down in a straight leg pigeon pose, and we'll be taking our ball and placing it just above the kneecap. So we're not going to go too far up at first. We're going to start low, and then we'll move our way up. So from here, table pose, let's start with bringing just the left knee up to the left wrist. Notice that I'm not angling my leg like in a traditional pigeon pose here. Slide your right leg back, and then we're going to take the ball and slide it again just above the kneecap. And then come down onto your forearms. So you do have the option here with that opposite leg, with the left leg, if you'd like to take it into maybe a half frog. I think that's a little bit too intense personally, but do what's right for you. I like the support here of my left leg underneath my torso. So first, we're just allowing the weight of the body again to be heavy. You can grab hold of a yoga block if you'd like and rest your forehead on it. And see if you can just let that right leg completely relax, be heavy. And see if you can regulate the breath again. Good. And so if this one's really intense for you, again, stay right where you're at. If you want a little bit more, you can start to bend and point those right toes up towards the ceiling, and then release. So just a little bit of movement there, bending and relaxing. Let's do just one more repetition if you're still with me here. Let the leg relax for a few breaths. And so we're not going to change anything about the shape that we're in right now, but we're just going to move the ball up the leg a little bit. So you can do this in a variety of ways. If you'd like to stay right where you're at, you can reach down and slide the ball up, or you can slide your body back. So we'll walk that left knee back a few inches, slide the ball about midway up the thigh, and then just relax into it again. Nothing else has changed. Let the weight of the leg start to just envelop the ball. I'm getting used to relaxing into this. And again, you can just let the weight of the leg be heavy, or you can start to bend the knee and then relax the leg. And do that just a few times. And so, important to remember that there's no right or wrong here. So if it feels like it's not comfortable where the ball is, you're welcome to move it around. You can do something completely different than what I'm showing you here, maybe even rocking side to side. Let's relax just maybe 2 more breaths here. And then press your way up, reach back, grab hold of the ball, and we're going to lie down into a Sphinx pose. Just long enough to notice Relax the weight of the head down here. And noticing any place where you're experiencing a change. So it could be the low back. It could just be simply the front of the thigh, all the way around the hips and the glutes. Just noticing that change from side to side. Good, and now let's move on to the left side. So coming back to that table pose to prep. Good, and this time we'll be taking our right knee up to our right wrist. And then sliding that left leg back. And again, a straight leg pigeon is a really nice place to be. If you have the space and want that half frog and just want to move the knee out of the way, of course that's an option. Let's take the ball and place it just above the kneecap on that left side. Good. And then come down onto the forearms if you can. And just start to let the weight of the leg rest on the ball. So with myofascial release, it's really important to breathe deeply into these poses so that we are affecting our nervous system in a positive way, so that we continue to relax, so that we can benefit the entire system. Once the leg is starting to adapt to the shape of the ball underneath it, again, if you'd like to, you can begin to bend the knee and then relax the leg. And doing that just a few more times. Just relaxing the leg, letting the leg be heavy for a few more breaths. Good. And then just propping yourself up, and again, maybe just sliding back on the ball or reaching back and sliding the ball up. We want to go about midway up the thigh. So I'm going to take my right knee back, slide my left knee back, and then relax back onto the ball. Good. Just taking a few breaths again to just settle in. Maybe choosing to shoot that right knee out to the side if you're not feeling a whole lot. Beginning again to feel the breath. And then bending the knee just a few times and relaxing the leg. So then let's do just one more. And let the leg relax for a few more breaths. Reaching down, releasing the ball, and let's slide that right leg back and just notice in Sphinx pose any change from side to side. Maybe noticing the sense of circulation in that left hip a little bit more than before. Just one more breath here. And then sliding the hands back And let's come back up to table pose and transition to seated now. So all of our poses now will either be done from seated or from laying down on our backs. And first up, we're going to get into the calf muscles. So probably right in the center is where we're going to start. I'm going to be using a yoga block for this one. And you can use the block at any level that works for you. So I'm going to take my myofascial ball, place it just right in the center of the block here, and then just rest my leg right on top and lean back. So for some of us, this is pretty intense, depending on what our lifestyle looks like. I know for some of us, this one's really intense. For me, I don't feel a whole lot when I get to my calves until I start to amp up the intensity a little bit. So again, we're just going to settle in. Notice how it feels. And then if you want to just explore a little bit here, you could simply flex the foot and point the toes. Notice how that feels. And again, remember there's no right or wrong, so if you want to kind of rock side to side on the leg a little bit here, that's totally up to you. If you're still not feeling a whole lot, you could prop yourself up a little bit and roll the ball up and down the calf. Good. And another option to get a little bit deeper without lifting up the weight of your body would be to simply cross the left leg over the right. Good. So really important here. And really for any of the things that we do with the myofascial ball is that we don't want to experience any pain. If you notice any numbness or tingling, you might want to back off, find a new spot. We definitely don't want to experience the sensation of shooting nerve pain, so that would be an indicator to find a new spot as well. I'm just going to hang out here for just a few more breaths. See if you can let the legs get a little bit heavier, relaxing onto that ball just a little bit more. One more breath. Good. And then slowly uncross the leg, come off of the ball entirely, move the block to the side, and sit up in a nice, just tall seated position. Raise the arms above the head, and we're just going to check in by doing a little forward fold here. So go ahead and hinge from the hips, fold forward, drop the weight of the head, close the eyes, and just notice from side to side again any change all the way up the back line of the body, potentially in this one. Notice if that right leg feels a little looser. You might notice it feels a little looser even in the back of the knee. Let's take one more breath. Good. Slowly begin to stack the spine, and let's do the other side. So grabbing your yoga block, if you used one there, placing the ball right about in the center. And then again, just resting the center of the calf there on the ball. See if you can first just let the weight of the leg be heavy before we try to intensify it all. That feels pretty good, and you want to try that pointing and flexing just really slowly. There's no need to go quick here. Just really noticing along the way all of the sensations that you experience as you move through the tissue. Again, if you want a little bit more, you could lift your hips up and slowly start to just slide the leg up and down the calf. Remember, no right or wrong. Make sure it feels good, that there's no shooting pain. And then just relaxing back down. And if you'd like to, it feels pretty intense for me here already actually on this leg, but if you have the space, go ahead and cross your opposite leg over and see if you can relax into that. If that's too much like it is for me, I'm just going to back my opposite leg off there and let the leg relax. And just a few more breaths. And one more breath here. And then slowly start to come off and extend the legs out. Good, flex the feet again and just sit up nice and tall, raise the arms up and overhead, and then folding forward over the legs. Just noticing again that sense of more similarity between the sides. Taking just one more breath. And then slowly starting to come up. All right, so for the remainder of class, we're going to be lying down on our backs. So have your yoga block nearby, someplace where you can reach it about mid-mat. And then let's go ahead and lay down onto our backs with a bend in the knees. Good. So for this one, we're going to be starting with the glutes and then moving up to the QL, and I'll show you where that goes once we get there. But for this first one, you're just going to take the ball and see if you can place it about just in the center of your right glute. The feet can be about hips width distance apart for this one, maybe a little bit wider. And again, it's just nice to relax into it and see if we can just start to adapt to maybe the awkwardness of it. And see if you can just start to relax into the ball first. Slowing down the pace of the breath. And then just staying right here if you'd like to, or you can slowly begin to knock your knees to the right. So we're just going to add a little bit more pressure onto that ball. And again, you're welcome to stay right here. You can kind of move in and out of that if you'd like to, or come back through center and cross your left ankle over your right thigh. And then again, dropping the knees down to the right for just a little bit more intensity. You don't have to go too far to feel this. Starting to slow that breath down again. Let's take about 5 more breaths here. Last breath. Good, and then slowly come up, uncross that left leg. If you crossed it, reach down, grab hold of the ball, and now we're going to place the ball right into the low back curve here. So the QL, the quadratus lumborum, what we want to do is place the ball just above the hip and to the right of the spine and below the ribs. So we're looking to avoid bone here and place it just on that meaty muscle centralized between those 3 points. So above the hip, below the ribs, and just to the right of the spine. Good. And again, for this one, we want the feet to be just about hips width distance apart. And you can keep this position if this feels really good already. Or again, we're just going to lightly knock the knees to the right. And this can be a steady position where you hold it, or you can kind of just explore movement a little bit here, just pulsing the legs back and forth. Just doing what feels right for you. Always coming back to noticing and regulating the breath. Really sending so many signals to the nervous system right now to just relax. And by the love we're placing into our tissues, by the steadiness of the breath, let's just take one more breath here. Good, and then reach underneath, grab hold of the ball, and stretch the legs out into a Shavasana shape. And just take a moment to notice again, from side to side, any changes. And let's take a deep breath here in through the nose. And exhale, let it go. Noticing even if your right leg feels like it's externally rotated a little more than your left. Or just that overall sense of relaxation from hip to foot and the low back. Good. And then once again, let's bend into the knees. We'll grab hold of the myofascial ball, and we're going to start with the glutes. So just lean to the right just a little bit. Place the myofascial ball right about center of the glutes on that left side. And then just begin to settle in. Notice the body just starting to adapt to the ball. And again, if you want a little more intensity, now starting to knock the knees to the left. And either just keeping them there or finding some gentle back and forth movement. If you have a little bit more left to give in this one, bring the knees back up and cross the right ankle over the left thigh, and then you'll drop the knees towards the left side and just relax into it. Just a few more breaths here. Slowly backing out of this one, setting that right foot back down if you cross the legs, reaching underneath you, grabbing hold of the ball, and just going for that second location, the QL. Again, we're looking for just that natural curve in the low back, this time to the left of the spine. And just settling in. Taking just a few breaths without trying to intensify. Just settling in, letting the muscles start to relax. Maybe knocking the knees to the left now. That feels good. And again, you can go back and forth. You can just let the legs settle as far over as feels good for you. And just a few more breaths here. And then slowly bring the knees back up, reach underneath you, release the ball, stretch the legs out. Take a deep breath in through the nose, and exhale, let it go. Just taking it all in, noticing any changes, noticing similarities. Alright, and now moving on, we're going to get into the upper back here. So for this one, I'll just flip around and show you. We're going to be lying on our back and we're going to be moving the ball around the border of the scapula. So probably one or two spots. We don't need to get to everything today. But we're going to take the ball into our right hand to begin with. Lay back on your back if you happen to get up there. And then reach back behind you. I'm going to roll slightly over onto my left side. Reach behind and place the ball just outside of the border of the scapula. And then come back to laying on your back. So for me, this is a pretty tender spot. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So just finding a place that feels pretty good, that could benefit from a nice massage. Again, we don't want it on the spine, so it's to the right of the spine and to the left of the shoulder blade. And just settling in here. So right now I have my left hand just cradling my head so it's a little bit more comfortable, but if you happen to have a pillow or a blanket nearby, that might be nice as well. Now that the tissues have started to adapt a little bit, let's find a little bit of movement here. So keeping the weight heavy, so trying not to curl your right shoulder up. We're going to lift our right hand and right forearm up off the floor and just maybe stretch your right arm overhead. Just doing whatever movement is accessible to you here. Just a few times. And bringing the elbow back in. Stretching the arm overhead. And just a few more. resting the arm back down. And if you'd like to, finding a new spot and seeing if in this new spot you can move the ball up towards the shoulder, unless it's already pretty high up there. We're going to see if we can scoot the body down just a little bit and find just a new tender spot. And again, we're just going to relax into it for a few breaths. Let the weight of the body be heavy. Good, and now for this one, we're going to reach next to us and grab that yoga block that we set there. And if it's not too intense already, lift your hips up and slide the block under your sacrum. Good, this one's really nice. We have the added weight of the body pressing down on the ball now. You can just relax into this one. If movement is calling you, you can take some little snow angels over the head if you want to. I prefer stillness in this one. And you can take that block up to whatever level works for you. I like the shortest possible level of block here. And just take about 5 more breaths. Let's take just one more breath. Good. And now carefully release the ball and the block in whatever order that you'd like. And then again, we're going to lie flat in Shavasana just to notice. And for this one, the noticing is really obvious for me. The whole right side of the body feels considerably more relaxed. Right shoulder definitely feels closer to the floor here. Just taking all of that in. Let's get to the other side. So again, placing a bend in the knees, and we're going to take the ball into our left hand, reach behind us, just kind of rock onto your right side a little bit, and finding a spot, again, now to the left of the spine, to the right of the shoulder blade. Just finding something that you can be comfortable in here. Maybe placing a blanket, a hand, a pillow underneath your head. You know, this is an area of the body that's so tense in so many of us. And just breathing and regulating the breath here so the body can start to melt. And the legs can really be doing anything at all here, whatever feels comfortable for you. Right now I have my knees knocking in and my feet out wide, so a constructive rest pose. Just a few more breaths before we move the ball. And again, now if you feel really comfortable right where you're at, feel free to stay here. Maybe find a new place by scooting the hips down an inch or so and scooting the ball up the border of the scapula. Remember, we don't want it directly on the shoulder blade for this one, nor directly on the spine. Just taking a few breaths here. Movement, again, is optional, so you can stay right where you're at. You could take snow angels here. You could bring the forearms together over the chest. Really, the only limit here is your own creativity in this. So feel free to move around. To intensify, if you want to, lift the hips up, slide the ball or the block underneath the sacrum, and just rest on top of it. For me, this feels like a nice deep tissue massage. I can just feel the tension melting away. And trying not to hold back here, really letting the weight of the upper body press into the ball. Let's take about 5 more breaths. And then reaching behind you, releasing the ball, lifting the hips and sliding the block away, stretching the legs out, and just allowing yourself to notice how everything feels. Good. And then finally, my favorite way to close out one of these classes is to get into the neck, and you're just going to need to grab hold of your yoga block and lift your head up, and we're just going to slide the block underneath the head the second tallest way, and see if you can kind of nuzzle the edge of the yoga block right up underneath the base of the skull. And first, we're just going to let the head get heavy here. Let the weight of the head just sink into the block. Good. Now turn your head to the right, maybe as far to the right as you can get it to go. And just kind of move the head back and forth until you find yourself resting on a pretty tender muscle on that right side of the neck. So feel free to adjust the block here as needed and just finding that spot that feels really good. And just letting the weight of the head be heavy. Feeling free to explore movement here by nodding the head yes or no, or just simply allowing the weight of the head to press into the corner of the block. And remember to regulate the breath here. Just feeling that steady inhale and exhale. And just taking one more breath. And turning the head back through center. Taking a moment there at center to just observe. Good. And then we'll do the other side. So turning the head to the left. And again, just finding that spot that feels really good to let the weight of the head press into the block. And feeling free. Just allow the body to be still. Maybe gently nodding the head no or yes. Letting the weight of the head be really heavy here. Taking one more breath. And turning the head back through center, releasing the block, and laying nice and comfortably now in Shavasana. Let's take a deep breath here in through the nose. And exhale, let it go. And feeling free to stay in this really relaxed position for as long as you like. And whenever you're ready, just slowly starting to come out. And thank you so much for watching. I hope you feel really relaxed. Namaste.